This is Farris Khan with Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football. On today's Smash the Numbers, which I'm recording on Sunday night, August 18th, you will hear this on Monday morning, August 19th. I've got a beautiful full moon above me behind the tree there. Recording a little bit later today. What I want to do is go into detail on 5 players that I think are going to be the difference makers for Michigan in terms of winning the Big Ten title / becoming successful this year. This is a combination of how good the players potentially are or could be, but also the importance of the position as Michigan is configured today, right now. How important are positions? So, for example, the quarterback position for Michigan, I contend, is not as important as it is for most teams relative to other players on the team. So, another example is the tight end position is probably more important for Michigan than it is for other players on the team. The other concept I am introducing is a variation of what's used in baseball, wins above replacement. I'd like to use that for football and give a replacement player a rating of a 1 on a 5-point scale and try to understand, at least now, without knowing too much about what 2024 Michigan's going to be. Let's put a little pencil in sort of what we think the above replacement level player each of the positions is going to have. Now, then I want to take that number, I want to multiply it by importance, and I'm calling it the Farris rating. So I'm going to give a rating, a score, and then we're going to take the 5 highest scores and kind of do a reality check to just see, okay, the way we computed it, does that make sense in terms of what we feel? Like, what is our gut feel? So there's been several other YouTube channels and articles that have come out on the top 10 Big Ten players, or maybe top 20 Big Ten players, the top 10 Big Ten players that might make or are going to make a difference in terms of the Big Ten title. So several other places have kind of gone over that. My take on it is, let's not just look at from an absolute value how great the players are. Let's also look at how important that position is for Michigan. So for the rest of this, I'm going to kind of go into an Excel spreadsheet. We're going to go into the numbers in detail. We're going to smash the numbers right now. All right, I've got my Excel up. Let's just make this as big as I can. And what we have here, I have a score, and I computed this. I'm not going to focus on this here, but I did create kind of a score for the value of the position relative to last year, or really kind of how much was lost and what we have to make up this year. And I kind of computed that based on not only the players that were leaving, but also kind of the quality of that player and the quality of the replacement player as measured by games that they played. Not going to really focus on that net score here, but I just want to kind of point that out. I did do a previous video on that. All right, so then we've got all the positions, and I'm using the format that Our Lads uses. So you can look on the Our Lads website, Michigan depth chart, and that's where you'll kind of find these positions. Here are the starters, and we also have the number of 2023 games they played. Same thing with the second string, and the number of 20, the names, as well as the number of games they played in 2023. you can see that on many of the positions, even if these players were not starters last year, they did get a lot of playing time. Okay, now I've got this metric, which I'm calling the above replacement rating. It is on a 1 to 5 scale. That does not mean that average is 3. It just means that a replacement level player, so we're going to say an average player is actually a 1. So an average player who would be a base starter in the Big Ten. Let's put it that way. Now, for most of these, I'm going to be a little bit harsh grading here, but then as the season goes along, we can make adjustments. So for many of these, I put down a 2 on a 5-point scale. So these players are better than average players in the Big Ten, but on a 5-point scale, they're just still a 2. All right, we're starting on defense. This tab is for defense. I also have an offense tab here as well. Okay, so let's look at the ones that are not 2. So we have Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham. Their positions, tackle positions, I'm giving them a 5 in terms of their relative to an average player. They're a lot better. I'm giving Jayshon Barnum a 4, and I'm giving Will Johnson a 5. Everybody else for the time being is a 2. That is subject to change, obviously, but I think those 4 players have proven enough before they even play a snap in 2024 to give them a rating well above 2. All right, now let's look at the importance. So the importance is on a 5-point scale, and in this case, a 3 is kind of average. So the scale is from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. On defense, they really do play as a unit, but I am going to sort of double down and say both tackle positions, as well as cornerback, the first cornerback position, cornerback 1. I'm going to give those a 5 in terms of, I'm sorry, cornerback 5, and then the tackle positions 4. So when I do that, I multiply everything out. You basically 4 players bubble up to the top, and those are the ones that have the higher ratings: Grant, Graham, Barham, and Will Johnson. So I'm going to go ahead and consider all 4 for now, but we also have to look at offense. So let's look on the offensive side of the ball. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. See if I can go a little bit. All right, so you should be able to see. Okay, so in this case, what we're looking at is a little bit more of a mix. I'll just put it that way. So above replacement, there are some 2s. I did give a few 3s. I just thought that our offensive line is so consistently good that, and these players did have in 2023 a reasonable amount of game experience. So I'm going to go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt that the offensive line as a unit will be a couple ticks above average, not just 1 tick above average, but 2. So I'm going to give those all 3. Wide receiver position, I'm going to just say 2 for now. There's no reason to think that our wide receiver position is that much better than average in the Big Ten. But again, we can move these numbers as the season goes along, which is why I think we're all itching to start playing games so that we can start to adjust these numbers. Okay. Then let's keep looking here, and we see the tight end position. I'm going to go ahead and give that a 5. I'm going to give the running back position a 5. And actually, I'm going to give the quarterback position a 2. I'm gonna make that a 3. You know, obviously quarterback is typically the most important position on the field, but for Michigan, that's not necessarily the relative importance of the quarterback position is not the same as other teams. So therefore, I'm not going to go ahead and give this a 5. I'll give it a 3. Um, well, sorry, let me correct myself here. So the importance of the position, I did give a 5. The 3 was for Alex Orji. So let me go back there. So uh, the relative importance, I did give it a 5, but I'm going to knock that down to a 4 because of what I just said. So the argument there is compared to other teams, Michigan football does not. Um, the value of the position for quarterback is not as high as for other teams. Okay, so above replacement ratings, I gave 2 5s, and those were for the tight end and the running back. Some correction here. We're talking about column D, which is above replacement rating. Column E is the importance. So on the importance side, um, we are giving all of the offensive linemen importance of a 4. We're giving the tight end an importance of a 5. Uh, the Colston Loveland tight end and the Marlon Klein, we're giving it a 4. We're giving the fullback Bredesen a 4. So wide receivers, average importance, but tight ends, higher importance. That's what we're saying. And offensive line, high importance. All right. So when we do that math, and thanks for bearing with me there because I flip flopped these columns for a second. And then I realized I thought I had rated the quarterback higher, and I did. But I'm talking myself into rating the quarterback importance as a 4. Okay. So then when we look through all of this, there are 2 players that bubble up, and those are Loveland and Donovan Edwards. And what could happen, obviously, is that Alex Orji could be much better than we expect. And the relative importance of the position being a 4 out of 5, if his replacement rating number is not a 2, but it's a 3 or 4, all of a sudden that kind of goes up higher. But for now, I would say Loveland and Edwards are the only 2 that have exceeded 20. So they're at 25. On defense, we have 3 that exceeded 25 or 20, I'm sorry. Grant, Graham, and Will Johnson. So I think logically, those are the 5 that I would pick: Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Will Johnson, Colston Loveland, Donovan Edwards. Those are also 5 of the top 50 players in my view. 5 of the top, if we look on offense, 2 of the top 25 players. If we look on defense, 3 of the top 25 players on defense. So on both sides of the ball, we have some superstars, but I'm not going to say stars and scrubs for Michigan, but we did lose a lot of production. Stars and unknown might be a good way to say it, is the way that our team is. So at the very top, we're very competitive with other teams in terms of our 5 top players. We're probably better than most teams. We are, because we have 5 of the top 50 players in college football. However, that second tier of player, there's a gap there from those first 5 to others. I would say Barham has a chance to kind of sneak in perhaps into the top 100, top 50 players in college football. On offense, obviously the hope is that Alex Orji's ceiling is that very similar to Jalen Milroe. Let's see if that happens. The floor is probably a serviceable quarterback who has some running ability, and maybe it truly isn't Alex Orji all the time. It's an Alex Orji package with Jack Tuttle or someone else taking snaps as well. Tight tight end position being more important than wide receiver position, which is kind of different than most teams. So we'll see what happens relative to that. And then obviously the running back position being very, very important for Michigan. So this is the first snapshot. I will continue doing this throughout the year. We're going to kind of look at which position groups are outperforming other Big Ten teams. And then we will also look at individual players. We will also start to adjust the importance of each position to Michigan. My belief is based on recruiting 2025, 2026, we are not going to be running 61% of the time like we did in 2023. It'll probably be closer to 55% of the time because our talent that's coming in is going to have be more of the quarterback passing to a wide receiver kind of scenario rather than smash using much heavier running game. We'll see how that works over time, but for now, these importance numbers will adjust over time, season to season, but also perhaps game to game. So the other example I could say is that we're going to probably see. I'll just go into full screen now since I'm talking. Yeah, so we're going to probably see some games where we're more conservative, some games that we are taking more chances, so to speak. Conventional wisdom is that if we think that we are a strong, we clearly have more talent than the other team, then maybe we go conservative. But there's two trains of thought. I am very interested in seeing what's going to happen in game one, because we've got to get ready for game two, which is Texas. And is being conservative and not showing Texas that much film that important? Or is it more important for us to get practice reps and actually show too much film, potentially, so that Texas has to adjust and, maybe think about more? If I were Michigan, this is just off my own personal view, I think we should not have a conservative game plan versus Fresno State in game one. In game two, we can mix it up, but we do need to kind of learn our plays. We need to feel comfortable doing those plays. We need to be comfortable both passing and running. And so I think Fresno State is a good test for that. And the value of hiding things so Texas doesn't see it, I don't think exceeds the value of having our players practice and be able to make those plays. And actually, in a way, there is a value for Texas to see a lot of plays, to see some creativity, because they're going to think about that. They're going to prepare for that. And that's going to actually help us as well. So I am talking myself into perhaps thinking that kind of in the over under, maybe the Michigan Fresno State goes over, and it goes over because Michigan is going to do all kinds of things to put stuff out there so that Texas has to prepare for it, and they're putting it out there so that they can just make sure that their players know what the plays are, how to execute, and maybe it's sort of a dress rehearsal. It didn't work. That big long bomb pass didn't work against Fresno State, but then against Texas, that same play does work because they tried it a week earlier and they ironed out the kinks in the week in between, and now they're executing much better. That's what I'd like to see. Let me know what you think about the five top players. And I kind of had 5.5. I had six players. If if you really 5, and then there's like a sixth tier there, or a 6-player tier with Jaysham Barnum. We'll see what happens. I can't wait for the season to start. Let me know in the comments if you have kind of a rating system or a way that we can make this rating system better, or if you have your top 5 players that you want to see this year, both in terms of how good they are and the importance of the position. Thank you.